Tenet is not a good movie. You know what? No. I take that back. I don't know if it's actually not good because I don't know what the hell I even watched. Look, I tried to understand, I tried to focus, and I knew everything that everyone was saying about how confusing it was and how this made Inception seem like an easy movie to watch. And you know what? That's all cool and all, that's fine. But what the fuck? This movie begins and I am determined, I am certain that I will be able to follow this movie because I know how confusing it is going into the film. I am going to try my hardest to stay focused and pay attention to every single detail in this movie. Let's be honest, if I already know that it's a very hard, confusing, complex movie to watch, surely it can't be that hard to understand the movie.
2 hours later.
Look, I'm all for complex movies. I'm all for movies that require thought, that require me to be more invested in a movie than I normally am. Hell, Inception is one of those movies, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Inception is the prime example of a movie that's complex and layered and is still pretty easy to follow as long as you're paying attention. But guys, Tenet is not that movie. I checked out of the movie about half an hour in because I was already lost and had no idea where this story was even going. This guy needed to go to this person for something, then he needed to go over here for another thing. Oh, and then there's this plane crashing, which I should care for some reason. I still don't know that one, to be honest with you. Then there's this evil guy over here. Oh, yeah. And the time inversion is also introduced, which don't even get me started because I still don't know how that works. This movie was literally throwing everything at me, hoping that something would stick, and quite honestly, nothing stuck. Hell, at some point they talked about a nuclear holocaust happening at the beginning of the movie, and I was way more interested in that movie than the one we got. Seriously, time inversion does not come close to a nuclear holocaust. That sounds really interesting.
Don't try to understand it.
I kid you not, that's gotta be a metaphor for this entire movie, because honestly, if you just don't think about what's going on in the movie and you just appreciate the visuals that it's throwing at you, I could see why some people would really be invested and like this movie. I gotta say, even though I couldn't understand a single thing that's going on in this movie story-wise, which is the whole point of a movie, by the way, the action scenes did look pretty cool, but it's just too bad that I didn't give a flying damn about anyone because all of these characters are so boring, flat, two-dimensional, whatever you want to call them. I could barely stay awake watching these characters talk with one another because they were not interesting in the slightest. But okay, let's just say the story made sense and the characters were interesting. I would still not be able to follow along to this movie because the sound mixing was abysmal. I had captions on the entire time watching this movie, but I know for a damn fact, if I didn't have them all, I would be even more lost than I already was, if that's even possible. Seriously, you cannot understand what these characters are saying sometimes, and this is coming from someone who has had zero issues with Nolan's sound mixing in the past, not one. The sound mixing is truly as bad as people say it is. I was just hoping that at some point this movie would just click with me and I would recognize this as another Nolan masterpiece because as we all know, he's a flawless director, and if you disagree, well, yeah, then you're wrong. But no, not once did this movie ever click with me, and I never understood it. The final act was cool looking, but I tell you what, I was never at the edge of my seat biting my nails. Hell, even Interstellar, as mediocre as that movie was, it still had me on the edge of my seat at times. But hell, with Tenet, that never happened. And please don't tell me that I just needed to see this movie in theaters because it was intended for the big screen and it was mainly shot in IMAX, because that doesn't change a single thing about how I feel about this movie. No screen big enough is gonna make me care about this story or find these characters interesting. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Yeah, sure, maybe if I watch a ton of analyzed, explained, dissected Tenet videos about the story, maybe, just maybe, I'll understand what this movie was even about. But I'm sorry, if I have to do that just to understand the main story in a movie, then there's something inherently wrong with the film itself. I should not have to be doing research just to understand the plot of a movie. Yeah, anyways, I'm gonna watch those videos now.